Good afternoon, my name is Juan Carlos Noriega. I'll be giving an instruction today on communicating in groups and teams. All right, first, this is what we're gonna go over today. It's gonna be definition of groups and teams, 6 prevailing tasks in groups, strengths and limitations of groups, methods of group decision making, communicating in groups, and conclusion. All right, so first, what is a group? A group is more than 2 people who interact over time who are interdependent and who follow shared rules of conduct to reach a common goal. A team is a type of group. All right, what is a team? Team is a special kind of group characterized by different complementary resources. Members are a strong sense of collective identity. All right, here, Joan Bragar, educational doctorate, says, team members share goals and are mutually held accountable for meeting them. They are interdependent in their accomplishment and they affect the results through their interactions with one another. Okay, so what is the difference between a group and a team? So teams consist of people who bring different specialized resources to a common project. Second, teams develop a greater interdependence. So a group doesn't exactly have to be formed so they can work with each other. So like if you're in a class, it's just 3 random people can make up a group. A team is more based on strengths and weaknesses and what they can bring to the table to try to solve the specific problem or work towards a common goal. Next, we have communicating the different types of teams. So we have the groups and teams, and the teams are broken down in different categories. So we have project teams. Project teams are, many professions rely on project teams, which consist of people who have expertise related to different facets of a project and who combine their knowledge. So project teams is different expertise for one project. Focus groups, they're used to find what people think about ideas, products, or issues. So focus groups are used a lot with advertising and sales. So they know what people will want so they can focus on what they can sell them and how they can get them to buy something. So that's one of the main facets of focus groups. Brainstorming groups. So brainstorming groups are just like brainstorming individually, but when you brainstorm as a group, there's more ideas and they could bounce ideas off each other. So brainstorming groups are the best for creativity. Advisory groups. So advisory groups allow decision makers to benefit from expert information. So the benefit from advisory groups is that they're not decision-making groups. What they do is advise a decision-making person. So they're formed to get information from experts to give advice to someone that can make a decision. Quality improvement teams. Quality improvement teams are a group of people which different departments, areas, organizations collaborate to solve problems. Also called a continuous quality improvement team. Next, we have decision-making groups. So decision-making groups has authority to make decisions. So the difference between advisory groups, they give advice to a decision-making person. Decision-making groups have the authority to make decisions on changes based on the results of their group thinking. All right, so communicating groups and teams, we have strengths and limitations. First, we're gonna go over limitations of working as a group. Time needed. When you're working alone, you only have your own thoughts and you can work through that a lot quicker. So your ideas, you don't have anybody to bounce on them. There's less time needed and it's more straightforward. With groups, it takes more time to do anything. It suppresses individuals and encourages conformity. So sometimes in groups, the individual can be suppressed and they can feel like they have to conform to the idea of a group. Status and charisma of an individual. So one of the problems in group communication and working in groups is that one of the group members can have elevated status compared to the other group members. So his ideas or his words can weigh more than other group members. And the same thing can happen if someone's more charismatic. Someone's more charismatic than the rest of the group members, their ideas can weigh heavier than everybody else's or their opinions. And then social loafing. Social loafing As described by Halberstadt Jackson and Bilkley D, the tendency of individuals to put forth less effort when they are part of a group, because all members of the group are pooling their effort to achieve a common goal. Each member of the group contributes less than they would if they were individually responsible. So that's along the basis that social loafing, if everyone is picking up something heavy, then not everyone's carrying the same load. So that's kind of along the lines of thinking that you're not gonna get maximum effort from everybody in that group. And then groupthink. Groupthink can happen in groups that think they are too expert and their thought process cannot be wrong. And that happens when the whole group is experts and they think their group has such expertise that it can't be wrong and it can't make mistakes, and it actually leads to mistakes. Some of the strengths: creativity and thoroughness. So with more people, the creativity, there's higher amount of creativity through everything, and it's more thorough because individually you do things a lot faster. More resources, more people, more resources, they also bring more things to the table. More thorough thought, because of the process that is involved with groups, the thoughts come out more thorough. Heightened creativity, again, bouncing ideas off each other and they could build off another group member. Enhanced commitment to decisions. So the way that is achieved is by everyone participating in the decision being made that comes at the conclusion of whatever group comes out of. That means each member had a part in that process, so they buy into that decision. If an individual makes a decision on a problem and moves forward and everyone's forced to follow that decision, there's not as much buy-in because they weren't a part of it. So that's a good thing about working in groups. People think that they had a piece of that decision-making process. Synergy. Synergy is when groups work together, they're more motivated as a group in a good environment, and it makes the group work better. And individuals, it can bring more out of an individual than if they were working by themselves. All right, so when we talk about groups, we talk about there's two major types of methods of group making. The first one is the standard agenda. It's time tested, it's logical, it's what's mostly used, right? So stage one is define the problem, identify the problem. What is the group intention? Like, what are you trying to solve? Next, gather and analyze evidence and information. So once you identify the group, you gather evidence to support what needs to be done to solve that problem. Stage three, establish criteria for solution. So once you have the problem, you gathered evidence and analyzed it, you see what is the end state. What do you want to accomplish when you accomplish the goal? What is accomplished by you? So where's the finish line? That's what you're looking forward to. Like, when the group finishes, what is considered completion? Generate and evaluate solutions. So that's when you have different criteria and you bounce ideas off and you say, hey, this is how we're going to solve this problem. So that's what the group method is. You think about different ways to solve a problem and everybody has a bunch of different ideas. Select and implement the best solution or decision. So at this point, you have all your ideas that you generated in step 4 to solve the problem. And there is when you select which one, using your criteria that you had in stage 3 for a solution. And stage 6 is monitor the decision. So things can be changed. And if your solution isn't working, you monitor the solution to make sure everything goes according to plan. Next, we have nominal group technique. This one uses a facilitator, quick decision needed, so it's faster, and member opinions are taken into account. So this one, it's a lot quicker. So like stage 1, intro and explanation of what the group is made for and what the problem is. Stage 2, silent generation of ideas. So it's like brainstorming, but individually. Everyone will gather their ideas, write them down on a piece of paper, and be in single thought. Stage 3, sharing ideas. This is where the facilitator comes in and writes everything down, usually so everyone in the group can see what each individual came up with. Then comes group discussions. Once everyone's ideas are on the table or on a board where everyone can see, they discuss the different options they have and the ideas they came up with. Stage 5, voting and ranking. Everyone votes on everyone's ideas to see which one is the best idea according to the group, and they execute it. An example of nominal group technique is a brand new formed sports team. So if you form a sports team and you're trying to get a name, the coach would be the facilitator. He'd get a whiteboard. He'd tell all the players, write down a suggestion of what you think the team name would be. Everyone writes it down, turns it in. The coach writes them down on a board so everybody can see, and then they talk about which ones are appropriate, which ones aren't appropriate, which ones can they vote on, which ones can they not vote on. They find the ones that they can vote on, they vote on them, they rank them, and then everyone on the team has buy-in. It's quick, it takes everyone's opinion into account, and it's a different process. All right, so guidelines for communicating in groups and teams. Main things here are participate constructively and leadership. So we have different types of communication. Task communication focuses on giving and analyzing information for the idea. So it's very task-oriented type of communication regarding information. Procedural communication orders ideas and coordinates contributions of members and is defined as verbal behaviors that structure group discussions to facilitate goal accomplishment. And that's N.K. Lehman-Willenbrock and J.A. Allen, and then S. Caulfield. They came up with that definition, and it's one of the big parts of procedure communication. It structures everything. So the processes that you have to conduct. So what's going to be done first, what's going to be done second, what are the steps you're taking, and how to organize things. So next is climate communication. The creating and sustaining of an open, engaged atmosphere for discussion. Then we have egocentric communication, which is the negative of the 3 guidelines of the communication. So egocentric is unconstructive form, used to block others, call attention to oneself. So egocentric is when someone's worried about their ideas being more important than others, not talking about the best idea to solve the problem. So it's when somebody focuses on themselves instead of the actual problem or the group. And then leadership. Leadership is important because the process of establishing and maintaining a good working climate, organization of group processes, and ensuring that discussion is substantive. So the leadership goes into account for these different guidelines of communication to making sure everyone stays on task and everyone's using positive communication and not egocentric communication. All right, so in conclusion, groups and teams are a great way to better solve problems. So more minds, right? Putting heads together, things like that, it works. Identify the right type of group for the task. So if you have a task that you come up, make sure you're using the right type of group for that task, the one that would be more helpful to find the solution to that task. Know the strengths and weaknesses of working in groups. So know what your limitations and strengths are for groups. Pick the decision-making process for your group. So like my example with the coach and the team, maybe with picking a team name, you don't want to use the standard process. You want to use another one, right? And then facilitate communication through leadership. Leadership is very important when you're working in groups to make sure all the procedures and all the different types of communication are being used. And then have fun, because you will be working in groups or teams throughout your life, in class and in work.